Okay, we're about to begin. Um, if you're still working on the assessment, just continue working on it until you complete it. But right now, we're going to move forward. All right. So before we do, I want to mention a few things about the HESI. One thing is, please do not bring a calculator. Right? You can use a calculator in HESI, but they will provide them to you. Right? If you bring a calculator to the HESIs, they will not allow you to use it for the exam. Excuse me. So please make sure you do not bring a calculator, right? One will be provided to you. Also, you have to come alone, right? Your HESI date is going to be given to you a couple of days before the actual date by the administrative office. If you do not have your data ready, you can use the contact us form on the website to reach out to them and ask them what data you scheduled. You can also um, reach out to through going to the school if you're already attending the school, and you can actually just go and ask the coordinator about the date. Now, keep in mind, a date is not um, something to be taken lightly. You want to give yourself a minimum of 5 days before to practice for the HESI before you take it. Right? A lot of people they take the exam and or before they take the exam, they're under the impression that okay, it's something that I don't really have to prepare for, and then they get on the exam, they realize that one or two of the questions are things they used to know how to do, but they don't quite remember, right? So we spend, and that's the case with most people, right? Unless you have a special situation where you didn't go to a regular school system, most of the time it's things that you knew used to know how to do and you don't remember how to do, and that's what the HESI is about. That's why it can be just 5 days because we're just reminding you of the things that you have, well, I can't say forgotten, but have gotten a little foggy here and there, right? And as far as the procedures and the questions. The other thing we want to talk about is the structure of the HESI. Right. So the structure of the HESI is like this. There are four sections, right? One section for math. So math is a standalone section. And then you have three sections for English. Now the math section is 50 questions, 50 math questions, right? And then each of the three English sections are also 50. So you have three sections that are 50 questions each for the English. You have one section that's 50 questions for the math. And for each of those 50 question sections, you have an hour to take it. So you have 1 hour for math, and then for the English, you have 3 hours, one for each of the three sections. The English sections are grammar, vocabulary, and reading, right? A lot of people will review a couple of those questions and see, okay, I remember this stuff because we use grammar and vocabulary and reading a lot more than we use math. So it's only natural that we remember a lot of things. So they may not need support, but don't leave it up to chance. When you practice, make sure you practice. When you're practicing these practice exams, make sure you're practicing for both the HESI, both parts of the HESI, the math and the English, please. Right? Because the most frustrating thing that can happen to someone is that they study their butt off for the math, they pass it, they ace it like a 95 and they kind of, didn't pay too much attention to the English and they missed it by 1 point. Now you got to go and take the English part over again. And that's something else I want to mention. If you pass the math and not the English, you can retake it, but you don't have to take the math. You can just do the English. And the other way around too. If you pass the English and not the math, you can retake it. You won't have to redo the English, but you would do the math. Okay. You only get everybody gets two chances to take it, right? Uh, you can get a third chance, but that's through appeal and it has to go to a panel. And there's no guarantee, but you do have two chances. So be careful. Make sure that if you're going to take the exam, right, that you have the time to prepare, at least 5 days prior to prepare for that. And that's something that you want to make sure you do 5 days prior to the exam. You want to practice at least 4 out of those 5 days, or let's say 4 days out of the 7 day week. You want to practice. How long do you want to practice? You want to practice for 2 hours, right? So let's figure this out. If the exam is four sections, 1 hour each, that's the total exam is 4 hours long, right? If you want to practice for 2 hours and you want to go over all the sections, that means you're going to have to cut the number of questions in a section in half. So we said each section has 50 questions. So when you practice, you're only going to answer 25 questions per section, which should take you about 2 hours. Okay. Now let's talk about the support. The support you get when you're practicing is for those questions you get stuck on, ones you don't quite remember how to do, right? If you get stuck on a question, you ought to don't waste any time, don't get stressed out. Just take a picture of the question and upload it to either the contact us form on the website. The website link is in the chat, okay? If you don't see it, just type in the chat, I don't see the website link, and then our administrative staff will respond by reposting it in the chat, please. Okay, so while we're on that issue, any questions that you have, guys, please make sure you type them in the chat so that our staff can help you out. Okay. If you type in the chat, they will respond to you in the chat. So any questions that you have, they will respond to you, right? They will give you a resource to get, so they'll either answer the question or they'll give you a resource to get where you can get the answer, right? I think that's it. And then we have, all right, so there is we talked about the structure, talked about the rules. You're not allowed to bring calculators, right? Um, that's it. One other thing I want to mention is that the website that they have, the St. Paul School of Nursing website, it is really a great tool and it's free. Okay. Don't overlook that. You go to any other website, you try to get the information that we provide here at the St. Paul School of Nursing website. Well, I don't provide it. I'm IK Tutors. I'm the company that's contracted by St. Paul School of Nursing, but St. Paul School of Nursing has their own website. And that's what I'm telling you. As an outsider, talking about the school that you guys are dealing with, they have their own website just for you guys, the applicants. And they have on that website, they have free questions. We said there were 4 sections. You go to the website. There are 4 sections on the website where you can go to one each. They're written out, each of the sections, right, on the resources page. You go to each of them. If you want math, you go to the math. You scroll down to the bottom half of the page. You see the heading math. You go down there. You click on the link for math questions, and you practice with those. Now, you shouldn't only rely on the HESI website. You should go to other websites like Nurse Hub or Momentrix, right? You look at other videos, but be very careful. Don't just look at any videos. There's a lot of different types of nursing tests. You want to make sure you're looking at the HESI A2 videos, okay? Because the tests do have different components. The different nursing tests, entrance exam tests do have different components. The HESI is a very unique type of test. You want to make sure you're practicing the right types of problems. You want to make sure you're not focusing only on one type of math problem, because there are 11 types of math problems that'll be on the HESI. So you want to make sure you're practicing all 11 and that you know how to do all 11. Right, that's what these videos here are about, to make sure that everybody knows how to do all 11. You want to make sure that out of the 11 types of questions they have on the HESI, there are different difficulty levels. So you want to make sure that those difficulty levels you can handle. Right? For example, you can get an easy solve problem or a hard solve problem or something in between. You want to make sure that you can handle, as far as solving that problem, easy solve problem as well as a hard solve problem. Now, with the within the videos that we provide here, you're going to see that we give you one, like for a solve problem, we give you one procedure, it's like 2, 3 steps, and it works on all the solve problems. So that's how we're structured here. We minimize the amount that you need to know. If it's a proportion problem, one technique will work on all the proportion problems, regardless of how difficult or easy they are. So that minimizes how many formulas you need to know. But make sure that you get that you have to practice so that you can do the solve problems, the proportion problems, the percent problems, the temperature problems. Those 4 are the 4 types of word problems you're gonna see on an exam. And you're gonna see quite a few of those. Okay. Right, and then there'll be other stuff, but it won't be as many, won't pop up as often. Another thing I want to mention, now we're talking about how often questions pop up. When you get the test, you sit down, you get 50 questions for the math. A human being's not picking that out for you. It's an algorithm. It's just going to a question pool and selecting 50 questions. And it's not checking to see if it's hard, if it's easy, if it's, whatever. It's just picking, it says, I have a quota of 50 math questions. Where's the pool? Opens the you know, the bottle and pours out 50 questions on the exam for you. Okay. So you're gonna get a random, some hard, some easy. Maybe you'll get two or three of the same types with different numbers, right? And that's how the test is structured, right? So you want to be very careful that you don't just focus on one type of problem. Like, okay, I want to do all these really hard problems, and then you get on a test and you got out of 50 questions, maybe three of the questions are hard, and the rest of the stuff that you know, uh, you didn't practice because you were focusing only on the hard problems. So don't make that mistake. The way you should approach this is you're going to approach and this is how this session is set up. You do the problems that come up the most frequently on the test, and then you work your way up through the harder problems. This way, if you can pass all the problems that come up the most frequently, you're going to definitely get above an 80. Okay, if you can answer those questions. And then the more difficult the questions become, the less frequent they pop up. So you probably can top off, with higher and higher scores if you know how to do those, right? But if you do it the other way, even if you answer every hard question correct, you're not going to answer enough questions to get an 80. So you have to keep that in mind when you're preparing. All right, guys. So I think that's it. All right. So the next step now is now that we've gone over the assessment, right? Going over the structure of the problem, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start. Now, the way this works is that, uh, as I said, there are 11 tests, there are 11 questions on the HESI, and they are different ranges. We're going to start you off with the live session where we make sure everybody can do all 11 types of questions, math questions we're talking about, math questions on the HESI, right? We do the assessment, and the assessment tells us by percentile, this group right here, what percentage of the group answers each question correctly. So let's say, for example, we get for question number one, we get 70%. That means 70% of this group answered question number one correctly. 30% need support with this question, right? So based on that, we start with the lowest percentile that we get. We have all 11 types of questions here. We start with the lowest percentile because we're going to hope the most amount of people in the easiest amount of time, quickest amount of time, or most efficient amount of time. All right, so that's how it works, guys. So we're going to start off now. We're going to start off with the lowest percentile question, and we're going to work our way up. Right? We're going to look at a video, and then we'll go to the next one. If you have any questions, again, please put them in the chat. Most likely, what we'll do is we'll provide you with a copy of the question, the video, or and you also have the website to go to. You can go to the website and go to the contact us form and ask your question there as well. All right. Also, you can ask your question in the chat, as I said before. All right, guys? All right, so let's get started. We'll go to video, the first one, right about now.